Hello and welcome. My name is Manu Balachandran and you're watching me on Capital Ideas, Forbes India's latest podcast series where we talk to business leaders, entrepreneurs and CEOs on their insights into the world of business, the Indian economy, what it takes to be successful, facing challenges and failures along the way. We hope you enjoy these conversations as much as we did when we spoke to them. We are also available across podcast platforms including Spotify, Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts. Let's go speak to them. Hello and welcome to Capital Ideas. My guest today is one of India's best-known lawyers, dealmaker, and an institutional builder. Haigreve Khaitan built Ketan Co from a small regional law firm in Kolkata into one of the largest in the country, and today boasts over 150 partners. That's the highest number of partners at a law firm in India today. Haigreve is currently the senior partner at Ketan Co and heads the firm's corporate, mergers and acquisition and private equity practice. He has also been involved in several high-profile and complex M&A and private equity transactions. These include Vedanta and its $2.6 billion acquisition or merger with Ketan India, and even the recent Reliance Retail Ventures Limited's acquisition of Future Group. Among his clients are Reliance Industries, Vedanta, Aditya Birla Group, Wellspun, and JSW Steel, among many others. Today, of the 12 bankruptcy insolvency cases in corporate India, Ketan Co is working on some 9 cases. Haigreve is on the board of directors of various companies, including Geo Platforms Limited, Torrent Pharmaceuticals, Mahindra and Mahindra, Seat Limited, JSW, Tech Mahindra, and so on and so forth. Such a pleasure to have you with us, Mr. Ketan, and welcome to Capital Ideas.
Thank you, Manu. It's a great pleasure for me and honor to be with you on this show.
Thank you. Let me begin by asking you, and this primarily because we had this conversation some time ago with another panel. Where is corporate India today? Amidst all of this, coronavirus, COVID thing that has been going on, and the lockdown. You must have a sense of where we are, in terms of the economy and how businesses are looking at the future. So, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think corporate India is in a very good place today. Good place, I say, because when the pandemic started, I think there was very little hope and there was a lot of despair as to what will happen to business, economy, how long this will last. The way the economy has bounced back and corporate India has seen demand all over, and the resilience of Indians per se, whether it's the man on the street, whether it's the teacher, the student, the entrepreneur, everybody is now back to work in some form or the other. I mean, we are both working digitally, but in some way we make sure work doesn't suffer. And I think corporate India is rightly so cautious, treading cautiously, but very optimistic, I should say.
Absolutely. But do you think there have been some fundamental changes actually that this crisis brought along in the way that companies were thinking about their future? For example, the role of technology, this whole work from home scenario.
I think this has been the biggest learning for everybody, including corporate India and businesses. Never could we have thought that one could do so many meetings, M&A transactions, litigation, virtually everything digitally.
Right.
And so many senior leaders of corporate India haven't stepped out of their homes during the last 8-9 months. But that hasn't stopped them from doing the biggest deals in the country.
Right.
And we can see by what Reliance has been doing, and similarly others have been doing. So I think it's been a great learning that we can do a lot digitally. We don't need to travel so much, right, whether locally or otherwise. And I think we've learned how to be efficient.
Absolutely.
Frankly, I have not seen corporate India engage so much with its own people, with customers, with suppliers, with collaborators, with partners. just because of the digital reach, and they couldn't have done it but for the for technology.
And is it only digital that transformation that we are seeing, or are there some other areas where the whole pandemic has brought about some sort of changes?
I think the biggest change has been obviously digital, because one can't move around and physically meet. That has really made the change. But I think apart from just the sort of digital change, the fact that many things can be done more efficiently.
Right.
I think everybody has learned. So let's say a lot can be ordered online. I mean, you might say digitally, but a lot can be done without physical presence. And so I can't see how people are ordering online. They are seeing samples online. So I think a lot is being done uh, through technology. I think technology has been the big lifesaver and the transformer both. I think
Absolutely.
during these times.
And this whole talk about self-reliance and Atmanirbhar Bharat that has been going on for some time. What are your thoughts? I mean, are companies adapting to it, even particularly for foreign companies? What is the response that you're seeing more towards that whole self-reliant India?
I think again very positive,
Okay.
and I must compliment the Prime Minister and the government uh, with this thought leadership, and also then translating into action. So, for example, this entire PLI scheme
Right.
brought about by the government, and the reforms being brought about, the FDI changes, the changes on the labor code front, all of that with a view that, look, we must have a self-reliant India.
Right.
And in a small way, I think all of us as consumers are also thinking every day that, look, should we be really buying Indian uh, and rely more on our own goods and services? Of course, foreign investment is welcome, but it makes a huge difference if we are purely importing versus something being manufactured in India or being produced in India.
Absolutely. But
So I think it's a great initiative.
absolutely. Do you think that would deter investments to some extent?
Not at all. Not at all. I don't think so. I think it will, in fact, encourage investments, because what they will see is a very attractive platform in India.
Right.
An attractive platform, not just because of the number of consumers and the consumption side, but if we can offer an attractive platform on the manufacturing and services side, where it's easy to invest, it's easy to repatriate, there's a well-defined tax regime, there's a well-defined land procurement regime, environmental law, labor law, and I think we've seen movement and improvements, I should say, in
Okay.
each of these spheres.
But before I move into the part about about your business and all of that, I just wanted to know, are all these steps that we've taken adequate enough now to put us on a pedestal for higher growth at the moment, or do we still need some sort of?
Oh yes, I think the one area I really think that we could do more in communicating to the international world is that we will not change our policies. We won't change, or make retrospective changes, and this will be a stable environment.
Hmm.
Uh, and I think from what we've seen on account of previous times where whether tax changes have been made
Right.
retrospectively or other changes have been made, I think investors are looking for a more predictable, stable environment. Another
Absolutely.
area has been around, honoring contracts, and
Right.
this whole issue around renewable projects, PPAs not being honored
Right.
because rates have come down today. And I think these are sorts of things where I think that communication, I think the intent of the government is noble, and that communication that we will offer that stability is important.
Absolutely.
And I guess this political instability between the state and the center we have to manage. But otherwise, I
Right.
guess
But
it's a
but
great environment.
but the whole and particularly the flack that China is getting, even for the virus and otherwise. Does that really help India, or some of those developing countries, Bangladesh, Vietnam, are still taking away many of the things that would have potentially come to India?
Well, it's a difficult one to answer today. Time will tell what really happens, and I don't think we can remain isolated in the world.
Right.
So a lot will depend on the Chinese relationships with the superpowers of the world, and I think you'll see when that settles down a little bit,
Right.
uh, everybody will flow towards the same way. That's what I predict.
Absolutely.
And so I think it's a bit early to say. Today, I think we are fortunate with the Atmanirbhar Bharat scheme and all of the policies
Right.
that look, we can still do well, which I think many countries may not be able to do. But I think time will tell how it pans out.
Certainly. Now let me go to Ketan Co. And you grew up in Calcutta. I mean, for till about, I think till you were about 30 years old or so, till you made the shift. So why did you move from Calcutta? And at that point, young, what went through your mind?
Well, to be honest, I was very comfortable in Calcutta
Right.
and comfortable in every way, whether it was my job or whether it was, at home. So there was really no reason to move. But I was fortunate to really see that, the business center was sort of slowly, unfortunately, moving away from Calcutta.
Right.
The political capital had already moved to Delhi, and
Right.
the business capital was clearly moving to Bombay. And as a firm where you want to serve the top end of corporate India, you can't be sitting in a market or in a region which is not the financial capital of the country.
Absolutely.
So we would have sort of remained an Eastern India firm. And I could really see from my own clients that there was a feeling that, look, even if it was a Calcutta client, whether or not we were the top tier firm,
Right.
having all of the requisite sort of knowledge and know-how and prior experience. And I was fortunate to work on a few transactions which really got me and some of my colleagues to spend a lot of time in Mumbai. And
Okay.
we realized that there is a huge gap, demand and supply gap, I should put it.
But personally, it must have been a very difficult decision, wouldn't it? I mean, leaving everything, all the comfort behind, to go for the uncertain.
Actually, to be honest, it wasn't that difficult.
Okay.
And I was very fortunate to have the support of my family. And the support, my wife was very supportive, and she's from Calcutta.
Okay.
So that made a huge difference. And my parents were very supportive. They said that, look, we are not moving, we are in Calcutta, but please go ahead. So with that, I think, they were very supportive. And the firm had a great brand, a lot of clients India-wide.
Right.
So it was very easy to come to Bombay. Everybody knew about the firm.
Right.
The fact that we were not in Bombay or was known, but the firm was very well known.
But
So it wasn't that difficult.
But the landscape would have been different, right? I mean, compared to what it was in Calcutta, competition and things like that. So starting out,
It was definitely a far more competitive market.
right.
And in Calcutta, we've been the leading firm for by miles for several decades. So it was a very easy ride. You knew everybody in the business community. It was a lot of familiarity. And you just had to sort of do a good job to maintain that.
Right.
In Mumbai, I think you have to make new relationships, prove your worth, win new work, and there are excellent firms, as you know, in the Mumbai market, and fabulous lawyers. So far more competitive.
And how did you sort of win the people, strike those deals? I mean, in the initial times at least, was it a difficult time, or did the brand name help you right through that time?
I think it was really the brand and the senior partners in the firm who had built the brand,
Right.
which really helped us get that first opportunity.
Okay.
And whenever we went to any client, they knew of the firm and they knew of the firm's capabilities.
Right.
So that way it was very easy to win the first work. Thereafter, obviously, you had to prove yourself.
Do you
And
remember
yeah,
which was the first one?
if I may say that, look, there were several firsts,
Okay.
and there was a telecom restructuring of the RPG group,
Right.
uh, which I should say was one of the first.
Okay.
Another first, together, we were running a sale of the earth moving division of CK Birla Group to Caterpillar.
Right.
And I'd say the third was Usha Martin, really selling off its telecom businesses, Calcutta Circle, to Vodafone.
Right.
And that was again at that time Orange. And
Much.
it just so happened that even in the course of the transaction, we were told by the counterparties that if you set up in Mumbai, we'd love to use you.
Okay.
And and then again, I must mention two more. One was of Hindustan Composites, again a Mumbai client, and they
Right.
entrusted us with a very large land parcel they were selling. They knew that we were not Mumbai lawyers. They were not sure that, look, whether we had all of the land law knowledge in Mumbai. But yet, given the old relationship, they entrusted us with that matter.
Wow.
And then it was Venture Infotech, actually belonging to Dhruv and Piyush Khaitan. So they were getting funding from Warburg and a set of financial investors. And again, we did that. So there were several transactions. We didn't have to look back,
Okay.
frankly. And then there was Vedanta, who was buying their corporate office now in Ville Parle, next to the airport. And they gave us that job. So we were very, very fortunate to really have work from day one when we came to Mumbai.
Absolutely. And was there a particular trigger? I mean, you decided, okay, this is enough. Now I've got to move to Bombay, or was it just the thought process just went on for a while, and you were like, okay, fine, I'll move.
Well, if I may be honest, the trigger was my two colleagues in the firm,
Okay.
uh, and Prabhay Khaitan and Saket Khaitan, who actually were very, very keen and excited and very optimistic of the Mumbai market. I wasn't as much.
Okay.
And they were the two colleagues who kept saying that we must establish and open up in Mumbai.
Okay.
And the fact that, they were so optimistic led to our optimism. And then finally, three of us, Prabhay Khaitan, Rabindra Junjunwala, and I moved.
Right.
So it was also where we shared the fact that, yes, as a team, if there are a few of us going, we will be able to, have at least some wherewithal to be able to serve the clients. And soon
But
Sudeep Malik,
right.
another partner, joined us. Nilanjan Ghosh joined us. Nandini Khaitan, who's now in Calcutta, she joined us. So quite a few of us. But initially, we were three of us who really.
And then were there moments when you sort of doubted whether this move was right, or you were sort of
Not even for a moment,
okay?
to be honest.
Interesting. And
I should say I had it very lucky. So, when you have it lucky and when it's where everything falls in place, you don't regret anything. And that's
absolutely.
how lucky I've been.
And since then, what you have offices in 4 cities now?
We have offices in 4 cities now, and we hoped to do one more city,
Okay.
but for COVID, so we are sort of operating in Chennai digitally, but
Right.
hopefully we want to set a physical flag up there soon.
Right. And this bit I found interesting, that now you are the largest in the country in terms of partners. What is the thinking behind that? I mean, you're the Ketan and Co. So,
No,
what
I think
really?
the firm is a professional firm. So while it started like a family firm, it's a professional firm today.
Right.
And one of the big changes in the way we operated was when we came to Mumbai, we attracted a lot of lateral talent.
Okay.
And I think the reason why we attracted a lot of great lateral talent was also because while the firm carried a family name, not
Right.
many knew that we were truly a professional firm.
Right.
And when people knew that, then they liked the platform, they joined the platform, they were happy with, in terms of the leadership, the
Right.
management, the policies. And as lawyers, we all like, flexibility, and we like our own space. And I think the firm provides that. And I
Absolutely.
think that is the reason why we attracted a lot of very senior and good talent.
Hmm.
And that continued. So we continue to attract laterals, and we continue to have our own people, become senior and become partners. So we are not a closed shop, let's put it this way.
And
And my
yeah.
father always puts it that, look, we are like the Himalayas, where there will not be only one Everest, but there will be several peaks.
Okay.
And that's been the policy of the firm, and that's why 150 plus partners.
And
And I have to say that each one of the partners is a peak in his or her own right, and is a leader, true leader.
and were there peaks and lows as far as the organization was concerned? Were there moments when where there were concerns, or was it always sort of stable?
Well, you look, comparatively, uh, I should say that we've been fortunate, and I have to not put all of the credit to ourselves,
Right.
but I have to give a lot of credit to the country and the policies. We were very fortunate to come at a time when the economy was opening up, liberalization was being implemented,
Right.
and foreign investment was coming, new ventures were being planned, capital markets opened up. So we were very fortunate. And at every phase in the firm, we are seeing completely new practices, new sectors. And that's a huge opportunity for us to learn, adapt, and move forward.
That's
So I
fascinating.
think the country, its policies, I should say, primarily.
Right.
And then, of course, you have to be geared to take advantage of that.
So that
And
brings me to a question about how the legal profession in itself has sort of changed. What are some of the changes you probably, since the time you went to college to now? Has
Oh,
there?
huge change.
Okay.
Huge change. I mean, I can tell you when I joined the profession, I was doing a litigation in courts. I came back and I was writing a conveyance for a real estate matter. In the evening, I was drafting a share purchase agreement for a M&A transaction. And then next morning, I was doing a labor opinion.
Okay.
Next day, I was writing a excise, a memo. So it was a very, there was hardly any specialization. So you did virtually everything.
Right.
But today, I think the practice is specialized. Laws and rules are complex. You need to be a real master of your subject. So that's one big change. Another big change, I should say, is on account of sectors.
Okay.
So a lot of sector knowledge you need to have, whether it's of the digital sector, pharma, healthcare, defense, or mining. And I think without that specialized sector knowledge,
Right.
uh, you can't really value add to the client.
And how do you sort of bring in all that knowledge? I mean, say for in your case, do you particularly specialize on a sector? I don't think so. Do you?
No, I am not specialized on a sector.
Right.
Most of my work is around the transactional work.
Right.
Some part of my work is strategic advice. So whether it's a complex litigation, whether it's a M&A transaction, and some part is very promoter driven.
Okay.
So whether it is, promoter succession, trust, family, matrimonial, ownership of businesses, control, governance. So
So
I've
that's a
been
lot of
fortunate.
areas.
So uh,
But
so
but
it's
what?
fun. It's fun, but it's a huge learning every day. At the pace at
Absolutely.
which change is happening, it's very taxing that to keep pace with change and to update your knowledge on a daily
So,
basis.
so what really goes into that? I mean, this transaction slash deal making. How does one sort of, become a master at it? I mean, you are a pro at it.
No,
So,
no, I'm not. I think I'm learning. To be very honest, I'm learning every day.
right,
And the good part about this job is you actually learn every day.
right,
You learn negotiation skills, you learn communication skills, you learn the law every day, rules keep changing, you learn new tactics, and every client is different, every matter is different,
right.
and that is what is really enjoyable.
Absolutely. And another area that we want, and this is primarily because of Ketan and Co's focus on the insolvency areas. I believe you are handling about 9 out of 12 of those cases. How's that particular side of the business shaping up? What are your
Oh,
thoughts?
that is again a very, very interesting area. For us, it's been one of our busiest practice areas.
Right,
And, it involves the finance practice, the M&A practice, restructuring, litigation, tax, and a lot of it is bundled together to provide that service.
hmm.
So I think it's a terrific opportunity,
Okay,
and again compliments to the government, the way the law is evolved and at the pace at which government is plugging defects and loopholes,
right,
and improving the laws and rules.
right,
I must also compliment the judiciary actually, the
okay,
pace at which they have decided cases and
okay,
settled many principles. For
huh.
a law this new, for so many cases to be decided so quickly, rapidly, and principles being settled is commendable. So,
Was there something that could have been done, over the past decade or two, to sort of tackle this better, or we are okay now? I mean, with what we have.
no, I think we are okay. I think there are still some teething issues which we are all conscious of working at solutions.
Okay.
We can always think in hindsight that why didn't we get this, 10 years ago or 20 years ago? Why did we experiment with, BIFR and then SARFACI and then DRT? And why were we going step by step? Why did
Right.
we not go in one shot? I mean, one can always debate that,
Right.
but never late than better late than never. I'll put it this
Absolutely.
way.
So we'll see some of these closing very soon.
Oh yes, oh, you've seen so many closing already,
Absolutely. Yes.
and I'd see you'll see more and more. And just don't go by the 12 big cases, Manu. I would say that the number of cases actually being resolved, which
Right.
are much smaller, are huge numbers.
Absolutely. So where does Ketan and go from here? I mean, what is the plan that you have set for them?
Uh, well, I think I don't have a number plan, and I don't have a. I think the plan I have is really where we are that number one firm in terms of quality.
Right.
And when I say quality, it's really that value add delivery to the client.
Right.
And I think we are the number one firm in terms of people enjoying working here.
Okay.
Uh, so I think these are my two goals: the value add to the client, and this being a place where people enjoy working.
But do you reckon being promoter driven has its own advantages, or do you like the way it is at the moment?
You mean in terms of corporate India, or
Yeah,
you mean in terms of
in terms of your firm also in particular.
no? In our firm, it is not promoter driven,
Right.
and we have an elected leadership in the firm. Again, people are not aware of it. It so happens that yes, I'm part of the leadership team,
Right.
and I happen to come from the promoter family and bear the same surname,
Surname.
but it's not a promoter driven firm at all.
Okay.
And I think for any organization, leadership is very important for
Right.
progress. But in our firm, it is not about a promoter being in that leadership position. I
Right.
think the best man will be in the leadership position to take the firm forward, and I think
Right.
that is important.
But
I think it's
that
important to
actually
have the.
that takes a lot of courage. I mean, it's not every day that people like to sort of part ways with that, don't they?
Yeah. But I think that's the only way, because I think if you really want progress institutionally, then you have to have the right leader,
Right.
and then we all have to support the right leader. So
Right.
it is as important to support the leader. So if you have a leader where in a professional services setup, all your partners and colleagues are bringing you down, doesn't take the firm anywhere.
Absolutely. And is that an advice you sort of lend to corporate India as well?
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
are they willing to listen to that now, or is it
Uh,
still
uh, uh, you can actually see the number of businesses where promoters have stepped back,
right?
and they may be controlling shareholders, they may be owners, but they have professional management completely empowered.
Right.
And it's really a people's. There is no one solution which will fit all.
Right.
There are great promoters who want to be in the CEO's position. There are great promoters who will take an ownership and support role, want somebody else to be in that CEO position.
Okay.
And then there are other promoters who will partner. So I think all of those models will be successful in India, and we've seen that.
Absolutely. I think it's been a great discussion to have you with us on Capital Ideas. Thank you so much for taking time out. Such a pleasure, hearing everything about Ketan and Co. and about corporate India and all.
Thank you. A great pleasure to be with you and to converse. Thank
Thank
you.
you.